Hi guys. So we're here for a weekly wrap up for the second week of February 2025. Hopefully you're doing well. I'm buried under a couple of feet of snow right now, but I'm not going to complain because so many people on the East Coast have it a lot worse with severe flooding and worse, and hopefully you're not one of them. Hopefully you're safe and sound and you don't have to deal with it now or ever. But let's talk about something less serious. Books. Namely, to start with, what I finished this week. To start with, I finished Cloud Cuckoo Land by Antonio Diogenes. I mean, Richard Dorr. If you read it, you'd get that. But in any case, this is a book that reminded me a great deal of Cloud Atlas. And not just because Cloud was in the title, but the way the story was told, the framing of it. It was about a book that was written by Antonio Diogenes and how it affected these children, in this case, as it was passed down through centuries, and their discovery of the book and what happened with their contact with the story. As I was reading it, wasn't really enjoying it. Not at first. I was realizing that every chapter just seemed sad and it was making me depressed because it was just one terrible thing after another for these kids. But as the story went on, a thread started to get tied up. I started enjoying it more and more. By the end, I thought it was an okay book. I didn't hate it. Like I said, I found it to be more enjoyable than Cloud Atlas, despite the similar framing. I thought Cloud Atlas was pretentious and overwritten. I gave it a 1 star. I couldn't stand it. This one, I would probably have to give it more along the lines of 3.5 stars. It was a book that was a journey. This is a book you have to put your time into and understand that you're going on a journey. And the payoff is these ends getting all tied up together at like 560 pages. It is not a quick, fun read. This is something you're going to have to put some effort into and understand that you're reading for a different effect than you would be if you're reading an adventure or a high stakes fantasy. This is a sit down with your tea during a storm and enjoy just being in that world as best you can kind of book. Next up, I finished Rage by Richard Bachman, or Stephen King, if you will. And this is the first reread of the book I've done since I read it a long time ago, back way back when the world was a different place, before Stephen King pulled the books off the shelf with cause, understanding how that story might affect people, as it's about a high school student, Charlie Decker, who one day loses it and takes his classroom hostage with a pistol, and the events that follow in that afternoon that he's holding his class hostage. And this is going to be a weird statement, but I wonder if John Hughes pulled some of Breakfast Club ideas from this story. I know it sounds impossible considering, but there was definitely some thought that the interaction between Charlie Decker and the rest of his students, rest of his fellow classmates, reminded me of that session in Breakfast Club and how they learned to interact and learned about each other. But it was obviously way darker, was much more intense. It was a much different place it went to, obviously. So, I mean, if you've read the book, you might understand. But in any case, this book is really hard to find, as Stephen King himself pulled it from the shelves for fear of instigating something by people who read it, people who are easily influenced by what they read, watch, etc. And I'm thinking about doing one of my reviews for this later in the week, and hopefully I'll get to that, and hopefully you'll check it out. So I don't want to get into a lot of detail now, but yeah, it's a different read than it was when I originally read it years ago. We're in a whole different world. The world is in a different place when Stephen King wrote that and when it was published and what it is now. So I get his decision. It's definitely touches a little close to home. I also finished Third from the Sun, short story collection by Richard Matheson. This was something that was pulled from my TBR game, you might remember. if you saw it. If not, I pulled it from a TBR game. In any case, it was a collection of short stories, mostly sci-fi, from Richard Matheson. It was pulled from, it says pulled from the selections from Born of Man and Woman, which was another collection of his. I didn't really get on with this one either. For me, short story collections are hit and miss as is. Even the best of them have their up and downs, and it's hard for me to connect with them. This one didn't really hit the mark. Didn't really enjoy it. Glad I read it because I wanted to read more Matheson, but it was not something that I had fun reading and was just glad to finish with it, be done with it. So that's basically what I finished this week. So for currently reading and going to read, I did start The Suicide Motor Club by Christopher Buehlman. I'm only about maybe less than 100 pages into that. And today I will begin Apache Dawn, always outnumbered, never outgunned. These were both picks from my TBR game, and hopefully I'll get these done this week. Like I said, I just got started on this, and I'm going to start this tonight. I'm also hoping to start tonight Winter Steel Cradle number 8 by Will White, and maybe I can get that. I don't know if I'll be able to get that done because I'm reading it electronically and it takes me longer in all electronic forms, but I'm going to give it a start. I didn't actually get to any of my graphic novel or manga reading this week. Hopefully I can rectify that soon. But since I never seem to remember to include ebook purchases when I do book hauls, I just wanted to mention I did pick up this week on Prime Reads Gravewater Lake for free, your monthly choice. And I also picked up Kraken Rider Z Book 2 and Tim Powers' Dinner at Deviant's Place on ebook. So if you care about what I watched, like I said, I don't watch a lot, but I did find out that my wife has never seen the movie Legend, the Ridley Scott film with Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, and Tim Curry. I didn't actually even own it, and it wasn't streaming for free anywhere, so I picked up a Blu-ray version of it for $8 at Walmart. This had the director's cut. I've never seen the director's cut, and it's been a really long time since I've actually seen it at all. So it was. I'm a big Scott. You're right. I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott, mostly based on Aliens and Blade Runner, two of my favorite movies. So I was excited to have a rewatch of this. It was a little fluffy, a little young. I couldn't totally tell you if it held up or not. I mean, it was all right. I enjoyed getting to rewatch it. It was fun to watch it with the wife since she'd never seen it. Anyway, interesting to flashback to the 80s. And I'm randomly tripping over my words now, so I don't think I have anything else to really say about that. I did try last night watching the new Witcher movie, The Sirens of the Deep, or whatever it was called. I had just come in from shoveling, etc., and was probably exhausted. I fell asleep watching it. The opening scene was really cool, but other than that, it was very average from what I saw. But I didn't finish it, so I can't go by my opinion because I never saw all of it. In any case, moving on. If you care what I listened to this week, as I told you, I was going to pick up the new Ginger album, and I did, Duel. And I listened to that this week. Enjoyed almost all of it. So it was good. It was Ginger. That was her evolution, the next step in her creative process. And it sounded like it. You could see she's evolving all the time. I don't enjoy everything she does, but every once in a while she hits the spot. And I got a kick out of the album. So I listened through that a couple times. And the other thing, funny enough, that I listened to was I was going down the booktube rabbit hole, and I came across somebody I'd never watched before, a booktuber. And they had mentioned that they had picked up and watched a movie, an old 80s movie, and then it was a band that he had never heard of called Poison Dollies. And I thought it'd be fun to check it out. It's an all-girl band, very, very 80s style. just, just a little bit. I thought I was, an expert at 80s music, but I had never heard of them. So it was a nice experience to go back and hear something different. It was okay. The lead singer isn't great, but with the harmonies in the songs were really okay. So it was hit and miss. There were some good songs on there, so I didn't hate it, but it was a fun, nostalgic kind of trip to the 80s to hear something new, which as an 80s child, gotta love that. I did upload a video review of The Malevolent Seven by Sebastian de Castell and raved a little bit. Enjoyable book, still up for my number one at my book of the month right now. So, if you want to check that out, there's a 4-minute review of The Malevolent Seven. Maybe it'll be my book of the month. We'll see. Still a couple weeks left. So in any case, I'll be back with like I said, I'm going to try and do a book review of Rage by Stephen King, Richard Bachman, and I have a couple other things lined up, so hopefully you'll come back and comment, subscribe, check out our store. I'm not going to monetize or anything. That'll be my only source of income through here. So in any case, I hope you come back soon. I enjoy having you. Subscribe, become part of the pack, and let's see what the future holds. Get in from the beginning so you can be there and say you were there when. In any case, sorry. I hope all is well. I hope you come back, and I will see you soon.